Breaking news in the NFL. Carson Wentz, the Commanders' starting quarterback in 2022, has been released by Washington today. We're going to be breaking down how much cap space the Commanders now have. It's quite a bit now after 2 cuts made today. But before we dive into the details, go ahead and subscribe to the channel here. Whether you're watching on the Commanders Report or NFL Daily, we are going to have you covered with NFL breaking news coverage whenever big news hits around the NFL. So if you need those breaking news updates this offseason to keep up with everything going on in the NFL, go ahead and click that subscribe button for us right now. So now let's talk about Carson Wentz. Last year's Commanders starting quarterback has officially been released, and we expected this. Commanders fans know this. His contract was very lucrative. There was no guaranteed money on it. He was not playing well last year. This was much expected, but it has just broke that he will be released. Last year, you look at his PFF grade last year, it wasn't very good. Pro Football Focus gave him a 60.6 grade, which was 33rd in the NFL of 39 eligible NFL quarterbacks. And what was left on his contract was just not something that was realistic for the Commanders to keep. 2 years, $53.4 million that he was still owed. And because there's no guaranteed money on his deal, the cap space that the Commanders now save is $26.1 million and change. That is a massive amount of cash to do something this offseason with, whether it be go get another quarterback, whether it be maybe go get a Jalen Ramsey. You can definitely pay Daron Payne now. It's definitely an interesting situation. We're going to go over all of those possibilities in just a second, but answer this question for me in the comments section. Will Carson Wentz play in the NFL again? Type Y if you think yes, or type N for no. This is not a clear yes answer to this question, guys. I mean, I look at this situation. Carson Wentz has not been a good NFL quarterback these last couple of years. It's very possible that he's not a quarterback, so I'm actually going to type N for no here. I'm going to have a little bit of a hot take. All right, so now this comes on the back of breaking news that we had earlier. That was Bobby McCain, starting cornerback for the Commanders last year, getting cut. That saves them $4.42 million in cap space for 2023. So when you combine the massive amount of money that you get from the Wentz deal with the McCain deal, both gone off the books, the Commanders save over $30 million in 2023 cap space for them. I mean, this is just absolutely ginormous moves made by the Commanders today. And right now, with that total, you add that to what they had going in, and right now they're at $38 million, almost $39 million to go out in free agency and in the draft and build this roster to try to win the NFC East in 2023. And what this means, guys, this is their total cap space number, but they do have to save some of that money for the draft picks that they're going to take this year. So their adjusted cap space number in 2023 is actually less than this. It's actually about $34 million heading up here in the coming up here in 2023. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the Commanders can do with this kind of money, because they're bringing in a new offensive coordinator. A very exciting time to be a Commanders fan, because Eric Bieniemy, somebody that's been an offensive coordinator with the Kansas City Chiefs for 5 years and has gone to 5 conference championships, has won 2 Super Bowls, including last year. I mean, obviously, the offenses under his watch have been fantastic. Now he's coming to Washington to prove that he's not just a product of Andy Reid. He's coming here. This is his offense. This is going to be his situation. So he's going to want to get his quarterback in the building. Right now, the guy that would be the starter if they don't add anybody would be 5th-round pick from last year's draft, Sam Howell. Now, he actually played pretty darn good against Dallas, towards the end of the season there, and he is expected. Washington's been telling teams that they're expecting to go with Howell as their starting quarterback for 2023. But now that you've opened up a ton of space by cutting Wentz and McCain, you can definitely go out and get some other options. You could maybe trade up for a draft pick, or even go get a guy like Lamar Jackson. If you trade for Lamar Jackson, we've talked about this on the channel before, guys. If you go get this guy, a superstar level quarterback, he is immediately the best quarterback in the NFC East. I mean, who's better than Lamar Jackson in the NFC right now? I mean, maybe Jalen Hurts. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers stays, then maybe him as well. But if you're Washington, you're Ron Rivera, you're Eric Bieniemy, you are trying to prove that this team has what it takes to not only compete in the NFC East, but in the entire conference. You go get Lamar Jackson. I mean, it's going to be costly. It's going to cost you probably at least 2 first-rounders and 2 second-rounders, but I think it'll probably be more expensive than that. But to go get a guy like Lamar Jackson would be a move that would be absolutely game-changing for this Commanders franchise. But if you don't want Lamar Jackson, maybe say you want to go get somebody in the draft, right? These are the guys that are going to be towards the top of the draft. In my opinion, the Commanders are probably going to have to trade up to take one of these guys. I think all 4 of these players, Bryce Young out of Alabama, C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State, Will Levis from Kentucky, and Anthony Richardson out of Florida. They're all going top 10 guys, and you're going to have to trade up to get your guy. So question is, who's Eric Bieniemy's guy? Who's the guy that Bieniemy falls in love with this offseason? Who will be the starting quarterback for the Washington Commanders in 2023? Let me know in the comments section right now. I can't wait to see some of your answers. I'm sure there'll be some Howell, some Jackson, some draft targets. I cannot wait to see what you guys have in the comments section. So my takeaway from these 2 cuts today of McCain and Wentz is that now for the Commanders, the possibilities in free agency and via trade are limitless for this team. They could go out and get the players that they want because Ron Rivera right now, he's pretty much on the hot seat for the Commanders. Another non-playoff season, he's probably out the door. So the time is now to make some big, aggressive moves in Washington. And I think that first move that they need to do is they need to lock down Daron Payne to that long-term deal. You have the money to do it now. He is an excellent player. He can play that one technique. He's athletic enough to play pretty much anywhere on the defensive line. He is an absolute monster. So he had more than double-digit sacks. 11.5 sacks last year. I mean, as an interior defensive lineman, you just don't see that very often in the NFL. And when you have a guy like that, you hold on to him. So I say get Daron Payne, get his deal done, keep him on your line for a long time to go along with Chase Young and the like. And then also, if you want to make a big move, like another big trade that's not for a quarterback, say you stick with Sam Howell and you really do believe that he is your guy next season, then you can go out and get another big contract via trade, like a guy for Jalen Ramsey. We've talked about him on the channel as well. Jalen Ramsey is arguably still the best cornerback in the National Football League. He could completely transform this Washington Commanders defense, which has definitely not been as good as it should be. I mean, Ron Rivera's first year with the Commanders, or it was the football team back then, it was fantastic. And then the last couple of years now, it's just completely wilted. They need a superstar player in that secondary. Jalen Ramsey can definitely be that type of player for the Commanders. He can play that nickel star position. He can play outside. He can be that one-on-one man eraser for your opponent's best receiver. And against teams like the Eagles with guys like A.J. Brown, or the Cowboys with guys like C.D. Lamb, these guys are really, really good players. And adding a guy like Jalen Ramsey would be something that would be absolutely fantastic to add to this defense. I really do think that the Washington Commanders are prime here to make some big moves. They better make some big moves because Ron Rivera and his job are on the line, and it's definitely an exciting time to be a Washington Commanders fan. So go ahead right now. Tell me in the comments section, who's a player that you want the Washington Commanders to add this offseason? Is it Lamar Jackson? Is it maybe an offensive guard to build that offensive line? Is it a superstar corner like Jalen Ramsey? Let me know who's a player that you want the Commanders to add this offseason with this new cap space. All right, guys, I appreciate the support. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.